You say it's recording. Did it do that live thing too? All right, cool. So this time I'm experimenting with live on Facebook. So Facebook can view it live. So anybody that's subscribed, they can see that we are live, and that live was gonna go straight up to the thing. So each time I'm trying to figure out how we can make this sexier, for the next one. So
Yeah.
I'm working on my camera, like Eric, man. You look good, bro.
I think our picture
I
of the
that's
setup now.
that's what I'm saying. I need that. I
Yeah.
need to get that too.
Listen, I stole this from Art Shriver. We were on a call during COVID, and Art had like his little like this little R. His R or something set up
You got an
on a
actual camera in
tripod.
front.
And then he made this comment. He said, "Listen, man, we image makers. How we get on these zooms and don't have good images?" I was
Say
like,
less.
"Damn, that makes sense."
Wait till the next one.
So I was like, "Let me set up my tripod with my camera." And
Wait
at
till the
first,
next
I used to do my window light, but then, I got, I got equipment, so I was like, I might as well throw a softbox up too.
Yeah, no, I like it. You look good, man. I gotta get my shit in order. Like,
That's what it is. This nigga in here lighting.
yeah, he got a
That's
whole,
what it is. Okay,
African
that's
setup
what it
going on over
is.
there.
That's what it is.
You're an
Okay.
image maker. You know what I mean? That's what you can't just you
Hmm.
know the overhead light going a little crazy, man.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
you see that?
Okay.
Taking notes. Taking notes. All right, so who want to kick off this one? I feel like last time some of the do betters. All right, so what we did last time, I think it came off very good. I use this software called Opus Clips, and what it does is that it scans the whole video and create these clips, which is what that one clip that I pushed out. But we got like 10 more clips, and I was just so confused as to which one to use next. But we still got content from that. So what I want to do is push out a few clips to keep pushing that other video. I think right now we're about 140 views, which is good. And the watch time has been really good because people seem like they've been watching the entire thing, which is
Yeah.
amazing. Because this is like by far the highest performing video that I've done. I think I got about 8 videos up there, but it's the highest performing video, the most watched, most views, 6 new subscribers. So it's been. I think people want this. I think if we can kind of keep it going, we might be on to something, fellas.
Yeah, I think consistency
Yeah.
is definitely the key. If we
Yeah.
keep doing it, keep it fresh,
Yep.
and just figure out what works and keep doing what works.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, with that being said, how we want to kick this one off?
Yeah. We should. I think that's what we could do the next time too. It's like I didn't. I tried. I fielded some of the questions um, from
Hold on, hold on.
somebody from a few people,
Uh-huh.
but I was gonna say like I should have I should have wrote down more stuff like just stuff in general that we could talk about.
Yeah.
Um, although I will say one of the things that somebody brought up was just they said stories, um, and so maybe that's what we can start. I guess is like maybe if there's any like memorable stories since we just came into 2026. Maybe if you have like a memorable shoot or experience or something like that from 2025, that we can kind of talk
Like
about.
I like that. Definitely with the top of the year, we can definitely go about that because in that the whole story, there's gonna be a lot of lessons in that, especially from the with the experiences that we got. So, uh-oh, we lost Eric. Hold on.
No, I'm back. I'll be
Yeah,
up.
he said hold on.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Yeah,
All
I'll
right.
put them in there too.
Yeah.
No, no, this is helpful. That's why I brought you in so we can kind of, you see how it all goes. So we're good.
And I think you can go ahead. I know you. I know. It's, and the only thing I want to add, like Pete, when I guess two questions. When are you planning on putting this out?
I would probably wait until the later part of next week. Mid January, I think, when this one should go out.
All right.
Still
So
think,
then I think just like to kick it off,
yeah.
we could start off with either reflecting on last year or kind of like thinking about how we look at the upcoming year since
Yeah.
this is going to go out. And then we can go from there into questions. And then P, like, I think you did a good job of being the moderator and
Hmm.
kind of like driving the discussion. So if you just go through the questions in whatever order you feel like makes sense based on how that conversation flows.
All right. Cool. So we're good with that. I'm good with that if y'all are. So I guess what we can start is let's reflect. Who wants to tell a story first on like just reflection for 2020? We're doing our 2025 recap. So what was the big experience or what was the big lesson 2025?
Yeah, you want to go first, E, or you want me to go
I mean,
first?
no, I'll go. I think 2025 was it was an interesting year for me. Like it had a lot of highs, it had a lot of lows. Like I lost my biggest client that I've had to date. My business was down significantly. And I know a lot of my peers in the industry experience similar things, but you know when it happens, when it hits home, it's like a gut punch.
Yeah.
So it was a chance for me to kind of like look at my business deeply because when things are rolling, like you just are going from project to project, and you're not really taking a deep dive into like why things are this way. And so for me, you know, I was a large portion of my business was with one client,
Mm.
and which is a risk for anybody. Like it can be a
You
great
don't have
payoff.
to you don't have to say what client it was, but what kind of client was, like what category.
Advertising. It
Mm.
was the advertising client. Um, and a lot of my business was with them. And then, you know, when that goes away, it takes a hit. And I did some work for them last year, but just not at the level that I've been accustomed to doing for them. So now it's like, how do I adjust? How do I pivot going into 2026 to where my business is no longer looks like that? Like it's more spread out across clients, which is tough to do because I think for me in this business, it's always been I built these really strong relationships,
Yeah.
and I have repeat clients over and over again. And I get very focused in on those people, and like I have a new client that's emerged that has become a very repeat client, and their business continues. Like I see it, it's like a track. Like I've been working with them for I think 3 years now.
Mm.
And if you look at what I did with them 3 years ago to what I did with them last year, it's like three times the size. And I'm like, oh boy, this thing is growing. This thing is growing in the same way that old clients have grown. And I'm like, but nothing, I believe, nothing lasts forever. Nothing lasts
No,
forever. So that you'll have your time with people and
Yep.
that time will end. And I'm working on trying to manage and navigate through that to where maybe I got multiple people, like 4 or 5, that are like all growing. So if one goes, they're like all equally weighted, and not one is so much more weighted in my business than another than everybody else.
Mm.
but that's a good thing to we could talk about too. Some of the things that you said, like is a client relationship coming to an end, right? Like we all have had clients that we had good runs with,
Yeah.
and then one day, they just stop calling. You don't know
Mm-hmm.
why. You even had good experiences with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but I feel like that's an important thing for us to talk about too, because that's another one of those things that you experience from being in the business that you don't know to prepare for.
Yeah.
before you get in it, and it's happening to you. You know, is that like every client relationship has an expiration date on it. Like you are always one to kind of know.
Yeah, very
Like,
last one. Yeah.
like you be like you leaving the shoot, you like, damn, that was good. All right, great. You know, you thinking like, damn, shit, when the next one? And
Next thing you
then
know,
there ain't no
you
next
see
one.
a whole new campaign, a whole new campaign that you didn't shoot.
Right, you scrolling IG and you like,
Yeah.
damn, they wait a minute, they shooting again.
What is this? Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a man, that shit hurts because it hits you right in the gut for real. And so many times I thought I had a client in the bag, and you look up and it just be like, damn, they shot with this dude. Oh man. Then you go into your head and
Yeah.
it becomes more about what you didn't do and what you could have done differently. And then you start trash talking the person who shot. Oh, I could have shot better than this motherfucker.
You definitely do. You like, oh, they
Yeah.
shot.
Say hi, him.
Right,
That's your
right.
ego going.
Yeah, it's your
You feel
ego. Ego.
disrespected. You feel
Yeah.
cheated.
Yeah.
You like, how could they do this to me?
Uh-huh.
But
But that's a
how do you go back and do you recover from that, or do you just go and it's on to the next? Like, do you
No,
like how do you recover from that?
I think you got to be able to recover. Like this is a business. Like you don't
Yeah.
take it like you take it personal, but then you don't. Like you gotta eventually release it and know. Like, listen, I made some amazing work with them. We did a lot of cool shit,
Yeah.
and now it's over. It's time for me to move on. It's time for them to move on.
Yeah.
Like they may want something different, a different, like whether it's a different look that I could have achieved. They may want a different vibe on set. Like it's all these different factors. People that come in that got new ideas and relationships. And I also look at it like this: like any job or project that I've worked on, typically there was somebody before me that was working on it, and I displaced them. And so I'm now it's my turn to get displaced. Like it happens.
Yep. You on a chopping block.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I move on. Like this is what year we're going into year 14 right now. I feel like I move on really easily now. Like I don't really like get attached to any one particular client because I've had it happen so many times where the relationship ended abruptly or whatever, and so like I just don't even get attached really anymore. I kind of just get attached to the people that might have been involved, and that's kind of more so the way that I approach it is that I try to just stay if I made genuine connections with people or I made genuine relationships with people, then I just try to maintain that.
Yep.
And then just know that like have faith that like either A, the client thing is gonna work itself out and you know we'll be back on at some point, or these people that I'm maintaining the relationships with, they gonna move on to somewhere else too because in advertising and in this business like people are jumping ship and moving around a lot all the time too,
Yeah.
you know, so
Yeah.
that person that I connected with that I worked with at you know whatever agency or brand in next year or 2 years from now they might be somewhere else, you know, so it's like at least I maintained that, and now that they are at the somewhere else I've forged you know like a new opportunity to maybe continue working with that particular person. So
Yeah.
I look at it
Yeah.
more like that now.
I agree 100%. Like the relation, and because it feels like a breakup or you've been cheated on,
Yeah.
but to me, it is really to Marcus's point. Like it's about a relationship I made with the people that I work with on these projects, and I maintain those relationships. And like I keep in contact with them. I'm happy when they make dope shit that I'm not even a part of. Like I'm excited for them on their work side and on their personal side because if you work with a client long enough, you should, I would imagine, build strong relationships with the people there.
Yeah.
And for
Yeah,
me, like
yeah,
I care about the people there, and I know like they even if they want to work with me, they don't. Whatever the case is, like I still care about them. Like me working with them doesn't dictate how I feel about our relationship.
listen man, like you can't take it personal because it'd be so many factors like involved, like
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it be so many factors involved in whether or not you're gonna do the job versus somebody else. Like it be so like people would be surprised at like how much politics is involved in it
So
all.
many.
So
Yeah.
like it be so many like this this person wants this person or this other like the client is pushing for this other person for another reason that we don't know. You know, it's just or they just don't want to listen. They don't have a maybe they're at odds with the agency or something. I
Mhm.
don't like the creative director, so I'm not gonna take a recommend from him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or her. Like it's stuff like that that be at play in the background that you don't know about all the time that really dictates like how the job might get awarded ultimately. And so, you're never gonna have all the detail for the most part. It'd
And
be a lot. It'd be so much agency drama, so much brand drama.
and you know what? You don't we don't know this, but there is an internal list, right? And you do become somebody's person, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as that person,
Yeah, yeah,
as that person move on, you're that person's person. And we don't know this, right? And you get wrapped up into all of the politics, and you get confused because you think that it's more so about the work. But to your points, it's definitely the political aspect of it. You're this guy's person, or you're this girl's person, and that's why they didn't want to bring you back anymore. So, but that's what
right.
we do. It's a relationship play, and I know a long time ago, Marcus, you told me that I had to uh, stack on my nose. You got to collect them nose because it's a numbers game. It's not a
Yep.
personal game; it's a numbers game. This is all about the numbers and how many opportunities you're going after versus like you get so locked into this one client or this one group, and then you think that this shit is gonna go on and on and on. You gotta spread yourself out there. It's a numbers
Yeah,
game.
yeah. Somebody told me, or either they told me or I seen it somewhere. I can't remember, but it was like just a sales tactic. It was literally just like this person was the number one salesperson, literally only because they got to know like real fast and then got off the phone and
Mm,
like called somebody else. And so they called so many more people in a day than like everybody else. And that was how they became like the number one salesperson. It had nothing to do with like them being like more persuasive than anybody else. It
mm,
was literally just because they were just more efficient. So they just like increased the number of people that they talked to, and they might have had a similar hit rate, but because they were talking to more people, they were making more sales.
yeah,
And so I feel like this is kind of similar in a way, um, which is that you gotta dance with a lot of different people, you
yeah,
know. And if you do that, if you dance with enough people, then you're gonna have enough people that want to dance with you, you
yeah,
know. And so
yeah.
it's just gonna get the process. Um, but yeah, um,
So tell me something. Because we were talking about our 2025 recap. Uh,
yeah.
Marcus, what would you put on your recap list? Good, bad, or whatever, like that you can say 20. What happened? What came across in on your path in 2025?
Whew, man, 2025. 2025 was special, I would say. Like I had some good years. It wasn't the best year money wise. Like it was good money wise too. But I had better years money wise, but just the kind of projects that I got to do, the amount of traveling that I got to do, the places that I went throughout the year, um, that was like it was an atypical year when it came to that. Like I started out the year in February. I think it was in February last year. I shot and I didn't post about it yet. That's when that's like the metric, right? It's like when you post about it. I didn't post about it yet, but I shot uh, the Winter Olympians for the U.S. Olympic Committee and NBC. Um, so I shot 50 Olympians over like 4 days, um, and that was pretty amazing. I was working two different sets and stuff, um, and actually that's what I wanted to talk about too. It was a lesson that experience that I feel like is important for me to talk about, right? Because that project in and of itself was like kind of like a dream project. You know, it's the kind of project that if you are trying to get into this industry and stuff, like you kind of just like want and think of like when you think about the things that you're trying to have consistently happen to you. And I was grateful for that, right? And this is a real welcome to the group chat moment because this is the kind of stuff we end up talking about a lot because what I'm about to say is something that I don't usually feel comfortable saying to a lot of other people because I don't want to get judged for not just being happy about what I got, you know. So okay, so Winter Olympics. We are it's media day for all of the Olympians over that 4 day stretch. So they're going from we are basically one sound stage of many that all of the athletes are going to throughout the day to get photographed or to make commercials or to do whatever they got to do. Um, so I was as it is a lot of the time with how things are set up now. I was set up in a sound stage that had multiple things going on with uh, all of these Olympians. So like there was a social thing happening. There was a set that had social stuff happening. There was my set that was set up for photography. Then there was a commercial set that was set up for uh, some motion stuff and all that. So it's like three or four different things going on in my sound stage. And I think I was having with each Olympian, I didn't have like a crazy amount of time. I maybe had like 10 minutes, 15 minutes sometimes at most, and so highly limited with what I could actually do. So like when I was approached by the creative team for it, like of course I'm coming up with all these ideas of stuff that I want to do, harnesses and all this stuff, like all this complicated stuff that like if I had 45 minutes to an hour with each athlete, I could
Yeah.
do. But
Yeah.
trying to do it in that short amount of time, you just don't have enough time to do like stuff that's super complex. Um, so like I had to pivot and kind of simplify it all and try to make it work with something that was like a little bit more quick and whatnot. Um, so long story short, I hear through the grapevine that Carlos Sorrell is somewhere floating around, has a stage somewhere. Carlos is like one of my what is almost he's become kind of like a quasi like mentor to me. I don't get to talk to him very often, but for those who don't know about Carlos and who Carlos is, he's like amazing sports photographer, fashion photographer, whatever category you want to put him in. He's just amazing and been doing this for much longer than all of us
Yeah.
even. And so like Carlos was big in the game back in like 2004 before I even thought about doing photography. He was already doing Olympic, campaigns and stuff. So we are friends, and so I went to look for him. I go to his stage, and he got the whole stage, like,
Got a portion of the stage,
like
got the whole stage.
yeah, he ain't sharing no space. He not sharing space with nobody. Like he got the whole stage. Like I'm like, oh my god. Like I'm like, you got this set and that set and that set and that set, and he doing a lot. He doing some of the things that I had in my head of what I wanted to do. He got like harnesses and he got like a snowboard ramp and like all this stuff that I was like, that's what I wanted. I'm like a kid in the candy store. I'm like, it's like when you ask your mom for Super Nintendo for Christmas and then and give you you unwrap it and this is just a little Game Boy and and then you go to your homie's house and you see the Super Nintendo sitting right there. You like, that's the one. That's what I really want.
Yeah.
Uh, and your
And the
mom like,
funny
shut up,
thing.
boy. Like, not everybody gotta get a Game Boy. So that was my moment like that where it was like I had to shut up and remember that like you're here. You know, you here and you're working with Olympians for the next 4 days, and you have an opportunity to still like create some amazing work right now. And you need to focus on that and not focus on like the fact that it's not how you wanted it to be and it's not how somebody else is experiencing it. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, it wasn't a lot of photographers there. You know what I'm saying? Like you still are in some very like exclusive company by even being invited and being paid to be on any set that was there for those 4 days. You know, so I had to more so remind myself in that moment to focus on that and be grateful about that versus like focusing on like where I'm not at, you know,
Yeah.
in the moment, you know. So
Yeah, a lot of times we get caught up into that. With that being said, though, which it leads me to think about like over the holidays, you connect with friends and family, right? And so my wife is always trying to volunteer my services to people. Oh, my husband, he'll shoot it. So I end
yeah,
up doing pro bono stuff, but then that always leads me into an interesting conversation with people, right? Like people will say once they find out. Well, let me start off by saying, like, for a long time, I didn't know that I liked the title of being a photographer, right? And
yeah,
because with me, it made me feel like because my wife is, she's in a corporate offices, so she's in all of the C suites, and people got to talk. So when she introduced me, in my own mind, oh, this is my husband, and he's a photographer. It felt like I was downgraded in a sense. That's how I felt, and I internalized it for a while. It took me a long time to kind of get over that hump, and I just want to kind of start it there. But now it's shifted to the point where is that I go into rooms and I don't mind telling people I'm a photographer first, But then what that always leads with is, oh, my nephew's a photographer. So my question to you, to both of you, like, how do you handle, or do you even bother telling people your level in photography? And because so many people think that when you say photographer, they think you just take a good picture and this is where you are. How do you, and we'll start with you, Eric, how do you handle the leveling up, or do you bother to explain your level to other people when that kind of comes up?
I think it depends. But first, I want to talk to your first point about like saying you were a photographer, because
Yeah.
like I had that same challenge, and mine came from like when I quit my job. My identity was so attached to my old corporate job that when I quit, I was like, man, I'm about to tell people I'm a photographer, and I had that mindset of like, everybody knew me as like this corporate exec, like I
Mhm.
was a director.
Yeah.
yeah,
And, like I was the young phenom in corporate, and I was like, now I'm
a
about to tell
young
people I'm a
phenom.
photographer. But no, I mean
I
like
get that though. Yeah.
I'm being honest, like I was on this trajectory to climb. I was climbing the ladder faster than
yeah,
everybody I
yeah.
knew, all my peers, and then I walked away. And so I used to introduce myself when I first started as a photographer. I'm like, yeah, I'm a photographer, but I used to be the senior manager. Like literally, like it was always a but.
Yeah.
I did this and I did like I always reference the old. And then I would say I was probably 2.5 years, maybe 3 years into it, where I finally like stopped that and just own like I'm a photographer and this is what it is. Like and whatever I no longer cared if people had judgment or like try to classify me as a certain type of thing because I said I was a photographer. I didn't care. And then, now I'm 15 years into this. I do have like there will be times where I'm in spaces and I tell people I'm a photographer, and different people like you can see the brush off or whatever. I don't care, but typically because I'm very fortunate, like I'll say it and maybe someone else is around that knows, like that's in the know,
Yeah.
and then they like, nah, he's being
Yeah. He's being
he
humble.
ain't really
Yeah.
telling you what
He's
it
being humble.
is and all that. Like I let other people do
Yeah.
the whatever because I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I know what I am. I know what I do. I know like what I care about.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm a photographer, and I love and I love what the fuck I do though.
Yeah. No, I love the shit
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
And so before I don't know, I had when I was uncertain about like saying I was a photographer, I was uncertain about if I was truly a photographer, right?
Mm.
But then once I get into the place of like, nah, I'm a photographer, and like this is what I do. And if you got a young cousin, if like I get that all the time, like my cousin, I'm like, cool, introduce you to him. I love to talk to him. Like I give him whatever advice I can anytime. If he needs some help, if whatever, I'm open to doing it,
Yeah.
type of thing. Or if he
I
want to
had,
give
I
me advice,
mean,
I'll take it from him too. Like your cousin may be Mario Testino, cool,
Yeah,
or whoever,
you got
Seliger.
you
I
got
didn't
something
have, I,
real quick. You got something air blowing technical thing in your microphone, Eric. Or
I have Eric. No, that's not mine.
somebody had some type of air thing that was blowing in their mic.
I don't
All
think
right.
that's mine.
All right. Cool. Go ahead.
I heard it too though.
You clear now though. You very clear now. All right. Go ahead.
um, I don't think I have. I had to. When it comes to that, uh, let's see. I, I didn't have. I experience with it is a little bit different, just because I never did anything else. Like I went straight from college into photo school, and then went from photo school to working as a full time like assistant digitech or whatever, and then I went straight from that into trying to work as a photographer. Uh, and so my experience with telling people that I was doing photography started all the way back in like college, really. Like I
Mm.
got people from college that know me now that are still they their first association with me was with being a photographer. You know? So my experience of talking to people about it now usually comes in the form of it's usually positive. Like I just haven't had a lot of people. Usually because it's happening when I'm in transit, like when I'm like getting on a plane or something like that. You end up in like some type of like casual conversation with
Mhm.
somebody. They may end up asking you where you're going
Mhm.
or whatever, and then I end up saying, slowly getting around to like getting it out that I'm a photographer and I'm you traveling, but like you traveling because you're like what, how you traveling because you're a photographer, and then talking about a little bit about what, why, and who I'm shooting, or not getting into specifics all the time, but like uh in a roundabout way, and then having my IG is easy.
Yeah.
Now that that's a thing,
Yeah.
because people will be like, "Oh, and what kind of stuff you shoot?" "Oh, I'm gonna just show you my IG real quick," and
Yeah.
then they see that for me, and then they just go like, "Okay, I get it." I get that your version of being a photographer is not like like a hobby style thing, and it's weddings, or no disrespect to weddings, but I feel like that's like the most common uh, sort of like assumption is that
Mm.
like you shoot weddings or something
Yeah.
like that. And
Yeah.
so like when people learn and see like kind of what I'm doing, then they kind of like just become even more curious about it and start to ask even more questions. And so I end up talking about myself a little bit more uh, in those moments. So uh, my experience with it hasn't really been like, and I've brought it up in like those rooms that you're talking about too, like
Yeah.
the ones where everybody else in the room has kind of like a corporate job or a corporate experience, and I'm kind of like the only one that has going on what I have going on. And I would say I feel like they almost give me the sense of like envy now, because of where I am now.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't say the same thing for where I was when I was first starting out. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? When I was first starting out and I'm scrapping together everything and like trying to make it work, barely making money, all of that. And like I'll come from University of Illinois business school. Like I went to business school. Like a lot of the people that I graduated with, our first 2 3 years out of school, they already pulling in like decent salaries,
Yeah.
while I'm still kind of piecing things together and kind of scrapping along. So like those early years weren't like didn't feel like that. It felt like maybe I made the wrong decision. It was like maybe I should have did what they doing.
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't now, but back then it kind of did feel that way.
So leading up to that, we got like as we go into those things, we kind of like I've gotten comfortable with our titles, right? A lot of times when I'm talking to people, I often tell them, how photography has come, how cameras have become like, I call it, for lack of better words, like stoves in the house. Everybody got a stove in their house, right? Just because everybody has a stove in their house doesn't mean that they, I mean, that means everybody can cook. So everybody can cook, and there are people that cook at different levels, but people still go out to restaurants for that experience. So restaurants still exist. So I'm leading up to the point and asking about your perspective on when do you what do you feel makes you stand out as a photographer to get more work when it comes to your approach, not like what you've heard, just based off of your level of success. What do you do to really stand out that way that keeps you working? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I would say in like the process to that, standing out and remain like getting work and stuff. Uh, like, cause somebody even asked me when I was trying to field questions for us, was like how they just said how to get the bigger contracts, right? And so like my mind went all over the place when they said that, because I was just like, when they said bigger contracts, I just didn't. I was like, man, that could mean so many different things, you know, even just that little phrase. And so, um, but in the beginning, I think that people, what I did, I was just probably a lot more aggressive than like people typically are. Like, I feel like photographers view themselves as artists, and artists are typically modest and like also like don't really promote themselves a lot. They kind of take more of the approach of like wanting to be appreciated. Like I
Mm.
want somebody to, and if somebody finds me or just sees what I does and value it, then that's kind of how they think of it. Except when you're trying to approach photography from like a business perspective, you got to have some strategy like laced into there too. And so for me, I very much like thought of myself as an artist, but I still also like approach getting work and starting to make money as a photographer as like with like a lot of strategy. Like I was like very strategic about understanding like, okay, who has the money? You know what I mean? Like, if I want to work in this business and make money, then I probably need to invest a lot of time into establishing myself on a with like commercial level clients, like and understanding how that process worked through like the agency pipeline. Like brands, typically, the ones that I want to work with typically have uh, uh, relationships with agencies, and then the agencies have like people that they have in place, art buyers that are gonna, typically keep a Rolodex of like photographers that they like or think do good work, and then the art directors are gonna choose from whoever the art buyers put in front of them, and then like and it's this whole process. Like I learned what that process was through working for Gary and being on set and just really just asking questions. Like when I was on set with people, I would just ask them, what they did and what their roles were, and I just constantly asked questions and was constantly curious. And once I understood that, I took that, sort of blueprint and kind of started to apply it when it came to trying to connect the dots for myself. Like I wasn't afraid to, when I came, I was trying to work from Chicago, right? Which isn't, it's a big city, but isn't like considered a big commercial market when it comes to like photography. There's a big market when it comes to like food photography, and back in the day, I would say maybe has some components of advertising photography that it was known for. But like working a lot, but like the agencies in Chicago aren't the ones that's
That
known for
they
like
don't
working
hire the
with like
ones from
sports
Chicago.
clients
Yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah, and celebrities and all that. They don't really do
yeah.
that. So like if you want to get on that radar, you typically had to be in New York or in LA or whatever. And so me being in Chicago, I was in Chicago because I couldn't afford to live in LA and I couldn't afford to live in New York. So, but trying to make it from Chicago, I was basically just like cold emailing people all the
Mhm.
time, cold calling people all the time, introducing myself. If I could, asking for meetings, in person meetings with people, going to portfolio shows in New York, in LA, like asking, people that I knew in those cities if I could like stay with them or sleep on their couch or sleep on the floor. And I was doing that, and I was
Yeah,
like,
you were. I remember.
yeah, and I was like I would cold email somebody that was in LA at an agency, and it could be the creative director or whatever, and they tell me like, "Yo, I can meet with you next week on Tuesday." I was like, "All right, cool. I'll be there."
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have at the time that I agreed to the meeting, I wouldn't have a flight. I wouldn't have nowhere to stay. None of that. And it's Friday, and they talking about meeting on Tuesday, and so I would just like put it together, figure out a way to get to LA for the meeting. And that was that process of me doing that is how I got my first the first time that I met with a rep. That was the first time, that was actually how it happened, was because I had got a meeting with somebody in LA. I then after that started working backwards from that meeting, trying to get other meetings. Because then I was like, I can't just go to LA for one meeting. So started trying to get other ones, got other ones set up. Was like, shit, well, I might as well try to meet with a few reps, met with some of those, and I was just hitting people up.
It takes a lot of
And
courage,
so,
because you got it takes a lot of gall. It takes a lot of like you got to believe in yourself. You got to believe you got some decent work in order to kind of like even make those calls. Not the normal person can think that like I'm gonna make these calls to these top level executives and think that I'm gonna get the work. Like you got to believe in yourself, don't you?
yeah, for sure, you gotta. Look. Let me tell you the process that I used to do. It was a publication back in the day called PDN, Photo District News.
Yeah, I remember them.
PDN every month when they come out with their thing, they used to come out with who's doing what. It was a section in the magazine called "Who's Doing What," and basically what they would do is they would list who like different campaigns that came out before that one got published and who did it, like the agency, the creative director, the art buyer. They would list everybody. All of that shit is online now. On different stuff like what agency, uh what do we
Actually,
use, Eric? Not agency access, but the other one that lists the projects. Like when something goes up,
Oh,
not
and
LinkedIn, but Ad Edge, LinkedIn, all of them. You can use those. But like I used to use the PDN who shot what thing. We'll see that, right? Oh, Gatorade. Gatorade campaign comes out. I would see who shot it, see all of the info, see the person's name, try to email a person by trying to figure out what their email would be. you know, like like and guess what it would be. And then I would, if it don't come back, then I know I got it right. And so I would email that person and I would say, "Hey, I saw in PDN that you are the creative director for Gatorade, the Gatorade client at your agency. I think my work fits what you guys are doing. I would love to meet with you one day and discuss how we can collaborate." And boom, send it. And I would do that all day for different clients every month, until somebody would hit me back. And in the case of the Gatorade one, that person actually hit me back and
mm,
was like, that was the person that was like, "Yo, you're right. Your work does fit, what we're doing over here and what we're trying to do with the client. You're doing Tuesday. Come out. I'll introduce you to the rest of the creative team and show them your work and blah blah blah." And I was like, "Cool, I'll be there,"
yeah.
and made it happen.
Well, that's good. I mean, like I said before, like not a lot of people got that level of like tenacity. Yeah, what would you say would be your thing, Eric, to lead you into?
so
Um,
my thing is it's similar to Marcus. So I was living in LA. Like
yeah.
I'll talk about both. Like I was living in LA, making work, and I wanted to get into the industry and figure it out. And so I've always been like fortunate. The right people have come into my life at the right time. So at the time, a guy, one of my closest friends, we shared the same birthday, born in the same hospital, like known him since Bible study as a kid.
Hmm.
He was working at United Airlines. He was like, yo, he's single. He was like, you got my companion pass. So companion pass basically I could fly wherever I wanted, whenever I wanted for
Mm-hmm.
free. Or for like minimal in the US it was free. Internationally it was like minimum cost. And so I had one another close friend. He worked at an advertising agency in New York, BBDO. And I was like, "Yo, I'm gonna come up there." And he was an account guy. He was like, "I'm gonna come up there. You going? I need you to introduce me to people at your agency, people you know. Fly to New York, stay at this place." He introduced me to people. Then from that, like I would go back to LA, make work, then try to set up meetings, fly to New York, meet people. I did that probably for like a year and a half. I was in New York once a month. Whether I had one meeting or I had five, like I would go to New York because one I could fly free. Eventually, one of my close friends, Jay Vaughn, he had a condo in Jersey City. He gave me the keys. He was like, "Whenever you need to come here, you can just come. You ain't even gotta let me know." So like, it'd be times I'd be at his crib on the couch and he walk in from him being out of town and he's like, "Yo, you in town?" He's like, "I'm like, yeah, I just got last night, man. I meant to
Yeah.
text you when I was on the flight, but something came up last minute and I need to be here. And you said it was cool." Type of thing. But whatever it took, like staying on floors, whatever I needed to stay on, I did that. If I knew I could get in front of somebody, so it was like a priority. Like I knew, like getting in front of people was the biggest priority to getting work. Um, and figuring out who those people were. Like I didn't back then. I didn't use PDN, none of that. It was just like it was like hand to hand combat. Like I meet with somebody in New York. I'm like, do you think there's anybody else that would make sense for me to meet with? And
Yeah.
then that would lead to another meeting type of thing. And so I did that, like I said, for a year and a half. Eventually, I started like identifying people I wanted to meet with,
Yeah.
and then work spurred from that. And like from the rep standpoint, like I never thought about rep or anything because I was like, the time I got to spend looking for the rep, I could spend that time looking for
Good for the
potential
work.
clients.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
always just focus on. I'm like the rep will eventually come. I'm
Yeah.
like I'm focusing on the clients because I only got a finite amount of time, and I'd rather just focus that time with clients versus anything else, and I'll build my business. And then like you would ask questions like, what's the thing that kind of sets me apart
Right.
and it keeps me working? And I think for me, it's two things. One, like as a photographer, like there is a skill of photography, understanding light and all that. But I think now for the jobs I do, like I spend way more time solving problems. Like they come to me, we're creative, we got a limited amount of time, we got this ask, how do we make this all work? How do you solve this problem, Eric? And I'm able to put all whatever pieces in place or come up with whatever strategy we're going to go at to get the final thing. So it may be I got to shoot 15 people. They want them in a group shot. Obviously, you can't shoot them all 15 at the same time. They're at different places all around the world, but we got to put them all together. I can solve that problem for you. Or we got to shoot four people. Um, but one person can't be around the other person for whatever reason. Like, I'm like, all right, cool, we can make that happen. Whatever the challenge is, like, or we need to shoot these people on this set, but oh, by the way, motion is going to have to set the whole time. They have really no time for you to ever have the people in the set to shoot and set up and light it. Like, how do we get these people in this set that you can't technically use for this shot that we finally need? I'm like, bet I know how to solve that problem.
But how
And
do
that
you?
came through like experience and
Yeah.
a
Okay.
lot of shoots.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I've learned how to solve a lot of problems. And, I've always, through advice, like Marcus gave me advice, like early on, I used to have interns on my sets, like as my assistants. Marcus was like, yo, you got to hire real assistants.
Yeah.
And this is like 10 years ago. He was
Yeah.
like, yo, hire real assistants and level up your work, everything. I was like, man, these budgets are so small, I can't afford it. He was like, spend the money to be worth it. And I started spending the money, and I would learn. Like I'm taking every. I hired an assistant. Like I gotta learn I gotta learn from him. And so I would hire really good people that had more experience, and they
Yeah.
were solving problems.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. That's a good point that you brought up with that,
And
because that would be addressing another thing that I feel like people probably want to know um, about more about is like crew, like how important is it? Because I feel like early in your career, especially like thinking about myself, like early in your career, I feel like you think that people are gonna give you extra credit for like doing things
Oh,
Or
yourself.
yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. You the grip,
Yeah.
the lighting tech, though, everything in
You
one.
want to be everything. And, early on, you have to be a lot of those things.
Yeah, yeah.
But then and once you start getting paid and the budgets, early on for me, they were small. But then you start to realize, like, all right, even if this budget is small, if I can afford to pay somebody to come on to help level me up, that gets me to that next step in my career because the work is going to be more elevated. Like,
Yeah.
Listen, listen, a good assistant, a good lighting tech or whatever, they're gonna do things. They're gonna do things that you can't do even on your own. Like it's just
exactly.
impossible. You need 8 arms to do it.
Well, let
You
me
know what I
tell you
mean?
this,
Like, go
because something
ahead.
that you told me when I did a job for my first big shoot for Netflix, and it was during COVID. And my first phone call was to you, Marcus. Remember? I was
Yeah,
shooting Kevin
yeah,
Hart and Wesley Snipes,
yeah,
and you armed me with my whole team, my lighting tech, my digitech, and everybody else. Right now, prior to that, I was the one man show. I
yeah,
go in, I set up the lights, I set up the background. I'll bring in to your point, Eric. I'll bring in a gang of assistants, and I'll spend more time trying to tell them what to do and not really being able to be attentive. So when I
yeah.
called you, I actually said, Marcus, here's the treatment. Here's what they want me to do. He was like, I got you. He's like, here's you call your lighting tech. I was like, I lighting tech. Now, how does that work? He was like, show him what the client wants, and then he's gonna create your whole diagram for you. And he's gonna order your equipment. He's gonna get you good. Then you hire your digitech, and you do. So ever since then, that format it made my life so much easier because I was able to connect with the talent, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and my job mainly is to connect with the talent and make sure the client is getting what they need, what their needs are. So I can bullshit and talk to the client the whole time. Everybody's out and they know their roles. Once we kind of go into through pre-pro through the other meetings, it's so necessary. And what people don't realize is that every city that you go to, there's a resource. Wherever your local rental house is, they have a resource list of like these assistants, these digitech. So you can always get these resource lists or filter within your network and get that. So that's been game changer for me since that happened.
I would say that it's kind of like this. It's kind of like I like having a lot of sports analogies, but like it's kind of like a basketball team. Like you got five guys on the floor, right? Well, we take pride a lot of time in the young version of our careers. We take pride in being the one man wrecking team, that the guy that can go out there and score 50, every night.
Every night.
And every night you trying to score 50, right? But you losing. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Sometimes their Herculean effort will be enough to get you over like the mid teams, the teams that's like okay, it'll be enough for that. But once you play in a team that really got a plan and really got a balanced attack and all that, you can't win. You can't win no championships like that. Every player in the NBA then found that out. Like that, if they want to win, they got to do it by having like they got to do it by making other people better and delegating. That's the
Yeah.
only way. So like this don't work no different. Like if you can do everything, that's great, you know. And there may be a time where you doing everything was the reason why something worked out, you know. But more times than not, if you got a team in place where you can delegate and pass the ball a little bit, your work is going to be better.
And to not
Yeah.
just anybody, to professionals, right? You got to do
Yeah,
Yeah.
it. The people who do it. Yeah.
Because I look
yeah,
at it like if I'm the Bulls and say I'm either Mike or Phil, right? I want to have the best rebounder. I want to have Rodman, and Rodman going to be my lighting tech. And then I want to have one of the best 3-point shooters. I want to have Steve Kerr. That's my digitech, right? I want these best class working with me to make my life. So
No,
I ain't got to carry. I can't carry this load all by myself.
no.
can't do it.
Nah, but
You
what do
can't
you
do
feel
it.
about the clients that do? Because right now we know this because the client will give a job or an opportunity to somebody and say, "Here, I need you to shoot this key art assignment," and oh, by the way, the budget is 10K, and then so I've had to counsel several people that be like, "Yo, it's 10K all in." I was like, "Yo, they got the budget for an assistant." These studios know that you need an assistant, you need a digitech, and they know how much they cost. You got to push them on that agenda. How do you feel comfortable with pushing that when they feel like, oh, it's 10,000, that's more money I've ever made. I can go and shoot this whole thing myself.
It's
I
funny.
mean, I mean, I think that that's just when it comes down to the strategy part. You gotta really understand like where you at in your strategy. Like you might be at the place in your strategy where you are gonna take the hit on either on the money side by saying like I'm just I'm a sacrifice and maybe I'm gonna squeeze out the little bit that I could get paid from this. Like maybe I'm gonna set aside only like 1,500 for myself, and so the job can be good. I'm gonna still hire all the right crew. I'm gonna rent the equipment that I need and all that to elevate the job, and I'm not gonna pull as much out the job. That's called investment back into your business. I think that like when it comes to the photography approach, like artist approach, and the whole approach to money, we don't really always consider moments like that to be a time where we can choose to invest back in the business. But that is a process of starting any viable or healthy business. Is that you're having moments, especially in the beginning, where you're not making money because you haven't invested all back.
Hmm.
And that is a way that you can do it. Like I'm gonna pay you 10,000 and I ain't got no more, but I'm giving you access to this person, and I'm giving you a budget that's bigger than one that you ever had before. This ain't a moment where you now get to make $10,000.
Right.
This
Yeah.
is a moment where maybe you get the if you've been making 500, then then if
Make
you
it
make a
1,000, you
thousand,
gonna double up.
you just went up 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, now I'm gonna make 1,000, and I'm gonna use the rest to actually produce the job. And that's got to be a part of your strategy in that moment.
But
You know,
don't you set the standard then at that point? Don't you set that this same client now comes back to you and say, let's run this again. I need you to do that same thing you did for me for this next 10 racks
No,
that I
because
got.
I'll say I've done it in the past where I went in and we ran it one way, very like minimal money
Yeah.
that I was making, and then you know a, a few months later they ran it back, or even maybe a year later they ran it back, and we was looking at totally different numbers,
Yeah.
like, and they were cool with it because
Yeah.
you produce and they recognize it and they want it because like again, if you getting a job and they offering you a lower quote budget that you got to use to produce it, you ain't the only one they doing it to. They're like they in a testing phase right now to see like what other people out here can make for this money,
Yeah.
and then you hit it out and you give them all the things like they're like, man, we gotta rock with this person again.
Yeah.
and the situation is just fluid. Like you have to use discernment and like kind of uh your experience at that point to like kind of figure out what you're gonna do in in that specific moment. Like you can't like so if they come back and say and run it back and they got the same budget, you might I mean it's a multitude of things that might happen at that point. I mean if you've leveled up enough that you're not really moved by the budget, then you can kind of figure out a way to not do it, and then or you can still say yes, but now maybe because the last time you used a big part of the budget to kind of foot the bill in a way,
Yeah.
you could then like it's a way that you could even win about that. Like you could even win about it by showing them through how you document, how you spent. You can still send the estimate and send the invoice with these line items of like what it's supposed to cost, and
Hmm.
then show the discount that you gave to make it work, so that when they do come back and they say, yo, we want to run it back, you can explain via that paperwork as to why it only like this worked the last time because I barely got paid, and I covered all the production expenses. Like this isn't a real budget. You can have that conversation, especially if like now the person or whatever isn't you're not as compelled by that person to want to shoot that person, or for whatever reason maybe you're not it's hard up to keep the relationship with that client going. It's a lot of reasons why you could say no. You got to use them the same way that they
Yeah. So yeah,
Use
you got to
you.
figure out how to use the game. But then,
Yeah.
what do you, as far as get, so you get this opportunity, right? And it turns into like some good work. Like your shit ends up on like all of the boulevards, and what how do you position yourself for that next opportunity? Eric, I know you position yourself a lot with relationships, right? But at what point? Because a lot of times what you can't do is shoot the shit and then immediately post into social. Because a lot of times, that's the bad thing, right? You get this job, you get this huge opportunity, and before you even do anything, you got your whole social team, right? So it's photographers to bring their whole social team and trying to collect content the day of, and they're posting this, right? That doesn't set them up for success. But how do you set yourself up for your next opportunity, either with the same client or the next one?
So I'll give an example. Like early in my career, I had one main client I was shooting for a lot, and the budgets used to be small. Like we were doing artwork, and they would come to me like, "We got 4,500, we got 5,000," and I'm like shooting them all, and like this is all in, like equipment, crew, everything, right? And then it started going from, all right, we got 4,500 just for you, and then you got all the other expenses covered. But I was making 4,500 for the day. Then but I used to take this work again and show it to other potential clients. So I went to a smaller network showing this work, and they were like, man, we can't. Oh, because it was a big network that I was shooting
Yeah,
for,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
there
It
was a
created a perception value.
perception
Yeah, 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 yeah.
that it costs more. So I went to a smaller network. There's no way we can really afford you. I said, you never know. And they came to me and they told me we got $7,500 a day for you to shoot this artwork.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
was like, 75. I was like, y'all paying $3K more
yeah.
than what the big network was paying.
Little do they know.
Little do they know what's happening over here.
Yeah, yeah,
And so like I've always kind of like nobody like it's hard to know what people make in this world. Like
yeah,
it's not a lot of transparency. And if you're gonna make an assumption when I'm getting paid, we can rock with it. And
yeah,
now like this is early. Like now at this point in my career, it's a little different. Um, every job I take is a most of the time there's a purpose and a reason behind it beyond just like the financial implication.
mm,
Uh and there are like certain rates. Like I don't want to publicize it, but like I've worked for rates where I would have thought like I'm probably not going to do that again.
mhm.
But depending on like again who the client is, who the people I'm working with, like it's a lot of factors. Like what the creative is. Like is this something that I'm passionate about? Like it's a lot of things that get me to say yes to something other than what the budget is.
Yeah,
But then I know like if I'm going to say yes to this, if the budget isn't what I anticipate or what I wanted, like I know strategically how it fits into what I'm trying to do ultimately. And
yeah,
like that drives like does this strategically align like where I'm trying to go? Like again, like is this a consistent client that I like working with, that I've been working with, and they coming to me like, look, this time we just don't have the money, but we want to work with you. I'm like, look, y'all have taken care of me for we've done good work together for multiple jobs. Like I get it. Every job ain't gonna have some crazy budget to throw. So
yeah.
yeah, I got you.
Marcus.
Yeah, no, I mean, when it comes to what was we talking about? Maintaining
How do you set
the
yourself up for the
relationship.
next for the act? No, not even that. Just setting yourself up for the next play, the next opportunity, the next play. You've done this big job, so now I need more of this. I want to eat more of this. Like, how do you set yourself up?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Right.
I think that comes like again strategy, right? Like comes down to how you gonna strategize with how you gonna get yourself from point A to point B. Like you gotta have like a method to your madness. Like I listened to I was watching David Letterman his show on Netflix, and he had Michael B. Jordan on
Okay.
there. And Michael B. Jordan explained like how in the beginning, like how he went from basically being with the pack, to where he is now. Like I would say Michael B. Jordan, for especially for black actors, like he's set himself apart from the pack, right? And so like but like he did it through like the roles that he said yes to, and the things that he chose to do early in his career, thinking about what he wanted to do in the future. You know, it wasn't like he was just saying yes to things like randomly, or oh, opportunity came, I'm just saying yes. You
Mm,
know, it wasn't like that. It was like I'm saying yes to this specific opportunity because I want to show that I have this specific skill set. So because I know that I want to do these kind of movies and I want to showcase these kind of skills so that when that opportunity comes up and I'm put in the mix, then I'm one of those people that they think about, you know, and
yeah.
that's kind of what happened. And I would say it's similar to how I would look at things too. It's like earlier in my career, you know, it was like I'm getting hired all the time to do like doc style approach work, you know. But I always thought to myself like, man, how can I show that I can also shoot like uh like high end lighting and stuff. I want the big lighting budgets and all of that. I don't want to always just be like the guy that's expected to show up and just make it work, you
Yeah.
know, because the budgets associated with showing up and making it work are different than the budgets that are associated with crafting something, you
Mm,
know. And so I wanted to be able to show that I had those skills. And so in the beginning, it was a lot of me getting in the studio myself and paying for the equipment myself, and cutting deals with studios and paying assistants. I mean, I had test shoots that cost 7 grand, 10 grand, because I was paying
that's
for
what you paid
everything out
for.
of pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I
Yeah.
was paying for everything out of pocket. I was paying for all the lighting. I was paying for the studio space. I even paid for the model that I wanted, because if you try to get the model and test with the model, you know how it go. Like, oh, the agency giving you that model, but then
They
the
got
day of the shoot,
they
Yeah.
got
they call
booked.
you and they got booked, and they
Yep.
telling you the
Yep.
day of, the morning of, or whatever, and then they trying to send you somebody that is way completely different than who you wanted to work with. You know,
Yeah.
they just trying to send you anybody that needs some shots, and they might be like a rookie model that can't really pull off, the what you trying to go for. So I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna avoid that. What's the day rate? It's 3 grand. All right, here.
Mm,
Now that model belongs to my day,
yeah.
and
Now
I'm
you
not
book
at
out.
risk of that
Yeah.
happening.
You
Yeah.
model out. Yeah.
So that would run, that kind of thing would run the tab up on testing, but I would take money out of the money that felt like I made it, you know, and I would use it in that way, to kind of level up the kind of shoots that I was doing, and to show a specific skill set that I wanted people to see, so
Mm,
that when I got the opportunity to put work in front of somebody that was influential in the hiring process, I could show them that kind of work, and I wouldn't be talking about like, man, I really want to do blah 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 blah, but all I'm showing them is stuff
mhm.
when I'm shooting outside, you know,
Yeah.
and natural light. That's not gonna work. That's not gonna work.
Yeah. Now let's switch it up a little bit. So oftentimes, people talk about like gear a lot. I know just in our group chat alone, we not gearheads.
Right.
I don't think we talk about gear at all too much.
No, not really.
So with that being said, what's interesting is that so many people, when they see you on set, the first thing they ask you is what you're shooting with, right? So what do you feel is like anybody who's concerned or worried about what camera? Like, actually, no, scratch that. Why do you use the system that you use, and why do you find it necessary that you're not chasing the next equipment? I think that's a better way to put it.
So I'll say when it comes to technology and equipment and stuff, like I'm into it, but I'm not. Right. So when a new camera comes out, will I buy it? If it's part of the system and the thing I use, I'm gonna probably buy the newer one if it makes sense. But a lot of times, like I let my Digitech guides me on what's needed. And he says like, yo, you're doing this is what we need. And, depending on what it is, I'm like, maybe I'll buy it because if I know I'm be using it a bunch of times over and over again for multiple jobs, then all right, I'm gonna make the investment in it. Because then I'll make that money back quick
Mm.
from just the jobs and the kit fee.
Yeah, throw it in a line item. Mr. Rental Equipment.
Yeah, but I'm not. I don't say I. It's a double. Like I probably have too much gear that I don't need, but I don't look at the gear in a way of like I don't care about it in that type of way. Like I'm just trying to use whatever tool I need to use to execute the job. Like,
Yeah.
and I just got a toolbox with a lot of tools in it, but I
Mm.
don't care what's coming out of that box. Like, I just want to use the tool that I got to use to execute the job.
Yeah.
I definitely don't care about gear. I don't even think about it that much, to be honest. Like I only own three lenses, or for the longest time I only owned three lenses.
I knew this was going to go. I was waiting for you to
Right, the
respond.
minimalist over here.
I was waiting for you to respond.
For the longest time I only owned. I got more than that now because I picked up a couple of other ones that I started playing around with. But for the most part, my kit is that dedicated three, and it has been since
Wait,
forever.
can we pause? Pause for a second. Please tell us what camera you're using.
Who, Eric or me?
No, you, Marcus.
Sony.
Which one?
A7R4.
And they're up to what?
Maybe five. I think of five. I think they up to five.
New one just dropped or something, right?
Did
I
the new
know
one
for a
just
long
drop?
time. I know this for only reason I stopped on that one because I noticed for a long time you was using the A7R3.
I was, and I was using the A7R3 for a long time, even after the Ford was available. I was on the Canon 5D Mark II for a long time before I finally get went to a Mark III. I
Yeah.
was on that. I was on the Mark II for a long time, and then I was on, yeah, I was on the then I was on the Mark III before I switched to Sony. But I was on that Mark III for a really long time too. But I think the point with that is that at the time I had limited choices that I could make with what to do with the money that had coming in,
Mm-hmm.
and I was figuring that investing in other parts of the business were had more bang for the buck than investing more and more money into gear. Like I would rather spend I spent okay, so just to put into context, right? I wasn't spending money on gear, but I probably spent 1 year. I did a big promo piece that I probably spent 20 grand on. So it was like, yeah, I didn't buy new gear for 5 years, but I put 20 grand on a promo project that I just got rid of the last of those, like last year or
Wow.
2 years. I had so many of them. I think I did 1,000 of them, or maybe between 1,000 to 1,200 of them. I remember the day that they came to my house. They got delivered on pallets to my
Mm.
house, and in boxes, in like 50-pound boxes. And I had ran out of places to put them.
Yeah.
And then all the people that I had a list of that wanted one, it was in the hundreds, but I still had so many more than that. So I was bagging up promos in my house manually, putting stickers on them and all that, and doing that whole thing, and sent them all out. Was showing up to the post office with 25, 30 of them at a time, where the postal people like, what are you doing? Like, what are you sending?
Yeah.
And so like I was doing that. But so I'm just saying, like, those things though, I felt like did like one, let's say one promo, let's say if it cost, I can't do the math in my head, but say one cost $75, right? Or $50 to produce. Like, that was going way further than if I would have paid, what's the going rate for a L lens,
It's like
or
two
G
grand.
series
Yeah.
lens, two
Yeah.
grand, 3 grand, whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
whatever in totality it was to send out 60 promos versus paying 3 grand for a new lens.
It was worth the
Like, it
cost.
was way more worth it in the end. And like, that's how you grow your business.
Yeah.
Is you don't get concerned with things that don't help you get more clients or help you improve your work like in a noticeable way because like you don't want to. The thing is, you don't want to nerd out and like become like so into the gear that you're like you just trying to show up to like photo events to talk gear with other people.
Well, you know, a lot of people,
You
a lot of
know,
people say that they want to start, and they say that they can't start until they get a certain lens or a certain camera, or
it's
I
just the
can't wait
wrong
for
mentality.
you to get,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
wrong. You gotta start with whatever you got. And I'll
yeah.
tell you, like through my like I've met so many techs that tell me they work with photographers that don't even own cameras,
Mm,
like at all. I'm like, say what? They show up the set, no camera, just them. They're like, yeah, they just rent whatever they're using from
mm.
me. He was like, I'm one of the only photographers that my techs tell they show up, and I'm not renting like gear from
Now
them.
that's a little crazy to me, but that goes to show you like how some people move when it comes to just like personally shooting even
Yeah,
Yeah,
because like
yeah,
I don't like I don't even understand how a photographer or a working photographer could be like that just because it's like well how are you like just shooting work like how are you just doing stuff like in general like when you
yeah.
just get the urge to want to make something or do something like you're not doing that.
well, they may have like a camera that they just can't use. They could still have like a Mark III that they use personally, but they
Oh,
can't show
okay.
up to set with that. Like I don't know what they personally have, but I know they ain't showing up to set with a camera and they're shooting maybe a
I get
medium.
that because I mean I've done that. I've done that very few times. Like I've had a client have some very specific specs before, and that wasn't the camera that I owned. You know, so I you
Yeah, I
know
have to.
in that moment I rented something just to meet that requirement. But that's rare. It's rare. I would say that that probably happened over the last 14 years. I probably had two times that that's happened.
But
Now,
you know, in the key art world, it's more it's more common for them to say you gotta have a medium format than
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah, yeah.
back
versus
then, yeah, that was crazy. The medium format days.
well, it's still now, but now the medium format standard
Yeah,
is Fuji,
yeah.
and which
Well,
is
that's the standard, but yeah, but it's not requested as much.
it's not.
Yeah, but so speaking of personal work, do you carry your camera everywhere?
No.
What
You
makes
carry
you
your phone.
what makes you want to
No.
carry a camera? What makes you want to carry a camera? So like here's the camera that I carry, and what makes you want to shoot something just out there?
That's the crazy thing for me is that like almost nothing. Like almost almost nothing, man. Like if I know I'm gonna be around family, I usually bring my Leica for that. Like if I know I'm about like when I went to down to Mississippi and I was with family, I was shooting a lot of personal stuff of my family with my Leica, and I was creating. I create that was I mean I created some of my favorite images like that, and then
Do
I've
you use
shot
them
my
for portfolio?
son. Yeah. So I have a whole section of work that my agent like uses to like sell the idea that like I can work with just like real people
Yeah.
or work with families, work with kids. Like that's another thing that we probably could touch on a little bit,
Well, that's
but
what I'm leading up to with this.
yeah,
It's
but
for work.
it's like that, like us being trying to be like multifaceted, right? I'm known mostly for working with celebrities and athletes and all that, but uh, there's still a ton of work out there where that's not where you can still make good money and that's not really going to be what you're shooting. You're not going to be shooting a celebrity or shooting an athlete, and the perception from people if you don't have that kind of other work in your portfolio, the perception that people make is that you're just not interested in that and
Mm.
that you don't want to do it, and or that or even in the more like straightforward way, they may even just think that you just not right for it because you just don't have the work to show
Mm.
that you do that kind of stuff specifically. So I started using that work as a inroads to for clients that are interested in me, but maybe can't see how straightforward in a straightforward way. They maybe can't see how I work with athletes or how I work with celebrities like maybe translates into whatever it is that they need to get shot. So, and it's been successful. You know, I've done one of, and not in the last couple years, but in 2023, my biggest paying client that year was a healthcare client. You know,
Mm.
so and then the year before that, my biggest paying client was a financial client. It wasn't even like sports.
I mean,
So
so you would say a lot of your personal work drove them to that to hire you for those jobs.
yeah, so like personal work led them to hire me for those jobs directly, and then I would say, uh, even in my main work, like in the sports stuff, like in the sports and celebrity stuff, even in that, like the first stuff that I did was still personal. Like I did a basketball project on my own, where I wasn't getting paid. Like I was showing up, going to Simeon High School, shooting a basketball team, like doing that whole thing just on my own, like just because I thought it would be a dope project, and I could create like a sort of look and an aesthetic from that, and so that's what I did, and that's kind of how I got started with my first like commercial job or whatever.
Eric, do you carry a camera?
I mean, I carry my phone everywhere, so that's the camera. But
Yeah.
then, like, I think we got the same little like. I bring that, when I'm doing something very specific with my family. If
Hmm.
I'm going somewhere, like we going on vacation, I'm gonna bring it. Uh, I'm gonna try to make something. It's around family where that comes out, and then with personal work though, like I don't. There was one point in my career I used to make a whole lot of personal work. I was just always shooting, and one was like to get better at making images,
Hmm.
and then to develop to figure out what I liked. I shot a lot. Figure out what I wanted to shoot, how I wanted to shoot, how I wanted to approach shoots. So I did that for a while, and then now it's become like, all right, what is it that I really want to make that I'm restricted from making at work, like on jobs?
Right.
Like, how can I make something like that? And so I did a big personal project late last year with an entertainer, and then I'm working on a big personal project now. Uh, that, and I try to find things that for me, it's got to be something that I'm passionate about because with any personal project, you run into these challenges and roadblocks to why
Mm.
you shouldn't do it. And I've always had to pick projects that when those roadblocks, I care enough about the project that when the roadblocks come up, I'm gonna work through them to keep
Yeah.
the project going.
Yeah.
And I found that my whole career in this, no matter what I've achieved, I still run into I decide to do a personal project, I know I'm gonna hit some roadblocks. So I
Mm.
gotta care about it enough to work through those roadblocks.
Yeah. I I typically carry I got the same Leica we all talking about, that Leica Q. I typically carry that and as my everyday carry. Sometimes I feel inspired to shoot something, or sometimes mainly I carry it when I'm around family or going to some function. I used to try to carry it to like other events, and I'll break out my camera and kind of like take some shots. Every now and then I feel inspired enough where is that if it's an event, I know quite a few people there, I'll break out the camera and kind of get some interactive type photos of them, engage out, turn them black and white, just kind of create that spark or that emotion where people can see that. Because what I wanted to do, as a photography kind of gotten to that point where is that I got tired of trying to shoot to the creative brief. I wanted to shoot something just more expressive of myself. So I've been experimenting a lot with the art world, right? Trying to like make photography art. But in order to do that, I needed, you all right? Yeah.
I'm there. I think my battery died. Give me
Ah,
keep going.
see, that's that webcam shit.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, so I've been focused mostly on really trying to build an understanding for the arts, right, as it pertains to photography. So I've been the last 2 years I've been experimenting in the art world, And that has caused me to carry my camera more than ever before because I'm looking to build this narrative, really build these classic moments, really creating some artwork that people can like frame and put on the wall. So my next iteration of myself is like really diving into this art world, and that's what's causing me to carry my camera more than ever because I see something I'm inspired by that most times look good on print. And now I'm really trying to like supplement my photography career, by working with and just shooting the shit that I just want to shoot, and get paid for that. So
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like with the briefs and everything, and the stuff that we shoot for work, at times can be very restricted. And I think Marcus does a really good job of this, of like making art out of the commercial work.
yeah,
And I think I've tried to lean more into it's like a muscle, right? Like you get so used. For me, I've gotten so used to like, all right, let me go execute what they're asking me to execute in the way they want me to execute. Let me not take a bunch of risk out here on their dime and executing what they're asking for. And what I've tried to do is like, all right, I still go out and execute what they ask for, but let me find some time, make some time to try some shit out too. Uh, and it's a muscle though. Like mine is underdeveloped,
yeah.
so like I don't
Got
do
it.
it. I haven't gotten to the point where I'm doing it like a reaction. Because like as you develop that muscle, like it becomes easier. Like it's easy for me to execute the brief. Like that's easy, and I do it quick. I can do it quick. I can do it slow. I can do it however they want it. Like they say, Eric, you got 5 minutes with this person. Eric, you got 3 minutes with this person. No problem. I execute what you guys want. But the muscle of like, Eric, you got 3 minutes with this person, execute what you want, and come up with like this creative idea that I want that's inside of me. Like that takes me a lot longer. It's like, all right, I want to do this. Now for me to do this, like I gotta do this. Isn't like I just haven't done it enough to where it's like that reaction, that same reaction time I got in executing their creative, I
Yeah,
haven't executing something that I come up with.
yeah,
If that makes sense.
yeah,
I mean, I do the brief all the time, but I don't know. I mean, I always go off, almost always, not always, but almost always I go off script to do whatever I want to do. Like I don't know. I don't really see. I think it's because if I think that the creative is good, then I don't feel as compelled to try to do that. But if I feel like the creative is like not good or is stale or boring, then I'll try to bring a little juice to it just because I want something for myself that still represents like something visually, aesthetically, like in my wheelhouse. Like, I don't know. It's just kind of when I leave it to the client, 100%. Like they, especially now, I feel like as time moves forward, like they get more and more like this, or they get more risk averse and more like follow whatever is already happening out there. Like they get more like that. They're more like that now than they were some years ago. Like I felt like some years ago, and I'll say this too, I feel like I've been forced to kind of be the way that I am, just because like some years ago, you had editorial opportunities were more so in balance with the commercial opportunities. Like there's not even that many magazines really
no,
around
Yeah.
anymore. So like you really don't and in that world, in the editorial world, you're giving more like creative reign to kind of like try things and do whatever you want. Otherwise, anytime you experimenting, you kind of doing it by way of trying to put together some expensive test or whatever. And I feel like editorial used to act as like kind of a buffer for you spending all your own money all the time to execute some idea that you may have wanted to do. But now, the way that we make money is so different now. It's really gonna be like almost 100% uh, commercial work, and so now your time is kind of just like more so locked into that world, and if you don't force yourself out of it through like doing it on even just that set, then you're really just gonna be stuck with work that only represents like the client's vision all the time,
Yeah.
versus having work that somewhat represents where you wanted to take things. And so I don't know, like because I do it, and because I kind of push for it, in some ways I end up with clients that look for me to do it. Like they'll experience me doing it and then they'll come back and be like, "Remember that thing you did? Like go do that."
Yeah.
And then the next time I work with them, they just get familiar and they just be like, "That's the brief." You know.
Yeah.
Now this time the brief is, Marcus. Marcus is the brief.
Yeah.
We let him do whatever, he had 5 minutes and he did this thing last time. Now we want the whole shoot to be like that. I've had that happen a bunch of times too. So
Yeah. So we coming up on about hour and 20. I think we can get it to an hour 30. We got a few more minutes. But two more things I want to talk about is one, something a little bit more current that's recently happened. We talked about it in our group chat, but Christopher Anderson, with the White House photos with Vanity Fair.
oh yeah.
Wanted to kind of touch that for a moment to get your thoughts, and because a lot of times when you see images like that, right, that causes a spark, and you wonder like, man, how do I get an opportunity like that to just create something? What does it take for you to be able to be in a space like that? Although it's editorial, right? Why do you what do you guys think about why did it buzz? Why did it just go off the wires the way that it did?
I
Well,
think. Oh, go ahead.
the first thing I wanted to preface it all with is by saying like Chris. I worked with Chris before. I met Chris on a Nike shoot before, um, and like Chris has been around in the game for like a very long time.
Yeah, he's
Like
one
that's
of
something
the
that a lot of people need to know and understand is that, and he cut his teeth like in the photojournalism world. Like that was where he sort of like lived for a long time, is by doing photojournalism. And so with that being said, that's probably like the number one reason is that he would have that opportunity, is because he had put the time in, to put himself in position to have the confidence from the photo editor in that, you know situation to produce some work the way that he did. So that's number one. Um, so then I'll give my opinion about it, but I wanted to hear what you was about to say, Eric.
No, I mean, I was going to echo like Chris has been doing it for a long time, and I think his style is like very specific to Chris. Like what he did with the administration is what he's done. Like it's not, it wasn't new or foreign to him. Like you didn't go out there and like, I'm gonna go try and do
Mm,
this piece in this way. He's like, I'm gonna go shoot this the way I shoot, and that's what he did. He shot it the way he shoots, and just if you had never been exposed to him, like the platform gave the exposure on that level with the people. Like I think it's a combination of where we are in
yep,
society today,
yep,
where that administration is, like how polarizing everything is.
yep,
And then Chris got put into that, and he went and did what Chris does.
yep,
And then from that, like now the exposure goes crazy, and then people see it. Because all like if you look at a lot of his work, like a lot of his work is like stops you dead in your tracks. You talk about it. Like he was on a boat that was about to drown in Haiti with Haiti refugees capturing that, and he could have died. And like he was a war photographer. Like
yeah, yeah,
his stuff is like graphic and it has like an emotional tone to it. And so now you say, yeah, this photographer go shoot these polarizing people, and you get images like that. I don't think like a lot of photographers could not have
right,
made images like they could have assigned a bunch of different photographers the same project, and it would look totally different.
They would have had a different, yeah, because they
You would have had a
approach
different
to
take on it and a
their
different like,
idea, yeah, their ideas of interest, their points of interest within that space would have been different.
yeah.
But it's like, to me, that whole thing was indicative of what it used to be like. Magazines used to have photo editors that purposely hired photographers that could mesh well with a subject matter, whatever. It's like, and I think that the public and whatnot, and social media is just not used to that anymore. Like that used to happen all the time. Like an artist gets paired with a subject, and that's how iconic images got made. A lot of the most iconic images that we think of when we think of like our icons and stuff, they weren't created by way of like advertising campaigns. They were created by way of like editorial moments.
Yeah,
And so like the photo editor is almost like in the music studio is like the producer. You
absolutely.
know, it's like if you look at like Snoop Dogg when he worked with Dre versus when he worked with Pharrell, two totally different sounds. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? So it's like it's a skill set from the photo editor perspective to think of what could happen if they were to mix these people in the room together.
yeah,
That if anything, we haven't talked much about the photo editor in this
right.
situation, because that really is who to blame for what ended up coming out is the photo editor. The photo editor was the one that was like, I have this administration and I have these particular groups of people. You know who I'm gonna put in that room? Chris Anderson. You
Yep,
know,
yep,
that is what created the moment.
yep.
Is that idea? If they had a said, who I'm gonna put in that situation, and it was like I don't know, I can't think of Platon, however you,
Oh, you put Annie
yeah,
Leibovitz in it because she
Yeah,
yeah,
says
yeah,
it
right,
all the
right.
time.
Yeah.
Like it looks, they'll both get images, but they're gonna look so different.
But see, and this is why I wanted to end on this one, right? Because the biggest thing that you guys said, which is my reason of bringing that up, is how necessary it is to have your own tone, your own aesthetic, right? Because yeah, Christopher Anderson had this look for many years, and people are just becoming familiar with it. The names that you've mentioned, Annie Leibovitz has a look, that people have, and Marcus has a look, Eric has a look. It's a lot of times where people they take for granted that they have this camera and they can get it to get the proper exposure and get the shots that they want. But what they don't think about a lot of times is finding out your style, your flavor, being able to understand that work comes to you the more you work on your own aesthetic, your own look, your own your image. And a perfect example in seeing that come to life in recent stories was a Christopher Anderson story. Because they hired him based off of his look.
okay. People should. I mean, what I feel like you're saying, and what I agree with in ideology is that people should focus on craftsmanship. They should focus on the
Mm,
craft of
I like that.
photography,
Yes.
and not focus so much on. In my opinion, people focus a lot on getting the bag and trying to make money, really early in the process,
And making a
and
name
they
for
don't.
it. It's become a
Yeah,
celebrity thing too.
yeah, and trying to make a name for themselves, like trying to get their follower count up or
Yeah.
whatever, and they don't focus that much on the actual like craftsmanship part of becoming a photographer. Like I just remember like in the beginning, like I still got it, like I still have the the folder with all the bookmarks in it from all the different photographers' websites that I used to go to and would
Yeah.
pull images from, and I still got folders of images that I have on hard drives of just images that I just pulled for inspiration and just studying images. Like I could just name photographers from the past 30, 40 years that I liked, whose work I was moved by.
Hmm.
And when I talk to a lot of photographers that aspire to get to a certain level, I feel like that's one of the things that's usually missing in the conversation. Like they usually can't name even other photographers that they like, or whose work they really want their work to look like or whatever. They just are out here like
Mhm.
just shooting, you know what I mean? Just shooting and really just making whatever their whoever is paying them to make something is they're just making that. So whatever environment they find themselves being a part of, that is typically what dictates what they produce. You
Mm,
know, versus them really looking inside and exploring like, man, what do I like? What am I interested in? Why do I like this? You know, if I took you through my folder of images and whatnot, I could go through each one and I could tell you exactly what it is I like about it and why I pulled it and what drew me to it, etc. And I can even tell you how, show you parallels in my own work of how I took those things that I like about those images and implemented it in my work and started to pull it into my work. And I could tell you about, like back in the day, I really loved Stephen Klein's fashion work. You know, I loved how real it was and how raw it was, and like how it always had this sort of like grittiness to it. That was what stood out to me about him versus a lot of his peers back then, was that his work had this gritty cinematic look to it when the look and feel back then was really more polished and more clean. You know, a lot of fashion photography is like that. But then conversely, I like David Sims' work too, which is very like clean, like
mm,
super clean, But I felt like it was always something about how he had the model move or the expression on their face or something that always stood out to me, that I could tell was like his signature or whatever. So
yeah,
like I could do that all day, like
yeah.
nerd out about different image makers that I liked, and something about their work that I love, and like how I was inspired by it. So I think that ultimately is what I feel like the conversation is with Christopher Anderson and what was it, Vanity Fair, or was it Variety?
Vanity Fair.
Vanity Fair, Vanity
Vanity
Fair.
Fair. So yeah, that's what I ultimately feel like is the conversation for us as people that's trying to move forward in the industry. Like I think like what people think about the work and stuff, like that's you know is what it is. Like
Yeah,
you can come up with 1,000 different you
interpretation.
know
Yeah,
interpretations or whatever, but yeah.
yeah. Well, cool. I think this is good, man, for us to close off on. Unless there was anything else that kind of came up that you guys wanted to touch on.
No, let me see about our in our chat. Let me make sure we hit everything.
Yeah.
We One thing we didn't touch on all the way was the process of being represented from initially getting started to today, what your rep handles versus what you are responsible for. Somebody did ask that.
Um,
We kind of talked about this before, but I'll touch on it. One, I think it is being having a rep is a relationship. Like it's a partnership that y'all work together. And I think a lot what I've found in the industry is like it's a misperception of like I get this rep, I'm gonna be my rep is gonna get all the work from me. And there may be cases where that happens. But I would say for me, it is a true it's always been a partnership. I've been rep 3 times. Uh and it is I am working along. We're working alongside each other to grow my business. Like it is not all on one person. And honestly, I take the ownership. Like it's really more on me to grow my business than it is on them.
mm,
So I gotta. I feel like I gotta own my career, and anything bad that happens is my fault. Anything good that happens is my fault. Like or anything good. Actually, I look at anything bad that happens is my fault. Anything good that happens because all the other good people around me is
mm,
how I look at things. Um, but like it's taking ownership, and I met several people where their expectations like their rep does everything, and I say the benefit of a rep is like now I got a partner that's helping me. I got a partner like certain things like I don't want to go and chase somebody for my payment. I got a partner that I don't know if they like it or not, but they signed up and that's what they said they're going to do in this partnership.
mm-hmm.
I don't want to have to have review all the contracts or find a lawyer to review all my contracts. I got a partner that does that for me. I want to have to schedule every call and and schedule all these things. I don't want to be doing that. I want to spend my time looking at other image makers, like making my own images, things, working on creative things, like doing stuff like this. Like I got a partner that handles a lot of the back end, a lot of administrative stuff, um, and they also go out and hunt for me. Like every rep is different. Like with the rep I'm at now, if I see a project that's out there and I don't know who worked on it, I can email the our agency, and they would find all the people that participate in the project, and then I can either decide to reach out to them. They can put them on a hit list for me, whatever we decide. But now I don't have to spend the 30, 40 hour trying to figure out who worked on something because I got partners that help me do that.
Yeah.
So I think if you look at it as a partnership versus like the idea, like I got a rep now, I can just wait for the phone to ring.
Yeah. I would say before you join in, Marcus, 'cause I know you got a lot of insight that you'll add to this. But being somebody who's not rep, right, and have had that desire, and even being partially repped with the agencies that I was repped by, I see the benefit, that the biggest benefit was, to your point, Eric, was managing the relationships, right? Because they have inside scoops to the people who they built relationships with to give them inroads to opportunities. The downside for me, and that I experienced with it, was the constant validation, right? Validating yourself against the group of peers that you had that was underneath that same umbrella with that rep. Meaning that your rep ultimately is looking to feed themselves and their family, right? But then if you got so many other people, like I got 8 people that I'm repping, who do I think is going to get me this money or closest to this bag? I'm gonna put this person in front for this job, and if they, depending on their perception value of you, right? If you coming in, me coming in unrepresented, not having that experience, they're gonna put me at the bottom, and then it would take someone else to say, hey, what about, I hate to say it, but do you got anybody black on your roster? Oh yeah, we got Parrish. Let's put him up for this one. Well, why didn't you serve him up before? You know what I'm saying? So then now it's like, okay, well, I put this person ahead because I thought that this is the style that look he was going for. But now you're looking for a person of color. I got to dig in my bag, and now I got one person of color because at a certain point, as we all know, during Black BLM movement, a lot of these reps were bringing in people of color because they didn't have enough diversity in that book, in that portfolio. So, and that's the downside that I see it, is that reps jumped onto the bandwagon to bring on people of color later, as an afterthought. And the ones that are on roster, if you're not a Marcus Smith, if you're not, I don't know any other names that I could say that is of color, you got, it's a select few. You know what I'm saying? And if you're not them, they're not putting you they're not putting you on the front line first. And that's just my 2 cents on that.
But I get my only thing I'll say is like I feel like now with Instagram, with like all the access that like clients have to find people, I think a lot of times, and this is just my perception, is that like they go to the agency. If Marcus was with Giant or Marcus was with XYZ rep, they going for Marcus already in mind versus there are times where the client comes to you and they say, look, we have this project. Do you guys have anybody that's a good fit? But I think a lot of projects nowadays, they go to the rep and say, we want to look at working with XYZ at your agency. How do we figure that out?
Yeah.
Versus like, we have this project. Who do you have for us? Like, I know that it comes up, but I feel like it's more, and I could be wrong. Like, we should have a rep on here to give us a better perspective of it.
I was gonna say we could probably at some point even like include, because that's the
I
next
think that's a
step
great
for us
idea.
probably, is to have different guests that can speak to
Yeah.
different parts of
Yeah.
some of the things that we're talking about. So like we could for sure have a rep on. I know Jen would definitely do it. Me and Eric have the same rep,
Who's
Giant,
your rep?
and
Yeah. Okay.
we
Right.
both are rep by Giant Artists. Jen Jenkins is the owner, so we like Jen would love to probably come on and talk. So we could think about that in the future, um, but like what I was gonna say about having a rep is I look at it like again, as a business infrastructure move. Like I look at it like more than just getting you work is a part of it, but or helping you get work is a part of it, but I look at getting work as a holistic process and not like one that's really like one person doing one thing. It's really like, you know, if it's one person, that one person is doing a multitude of things. And
Hmm.
then if it's a team, the team is doing a multitude of things that one person has to do less of because it's more people spreading it out. But all the work still has to get done. So even if you don't have a rep, all the same things have to get done. It's just that more of it is falling on you,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
get done. So like if now that I have a rep, I'm still doing stuff, but it's like I have to do less of it. So I don't have to do as many meetings because my rep is meeting too.
Mm,
So like but I still am focused on like networking and meeting all the same stuff that I was focused on before, but I just have to spend less time doing it because there's more of us spreading the work out amongst each other.
yeah.
So like think of it as demolishing a house. You know, like it's still as much house to get demolished, whether you do it by yourself or you bring on a team.
Sort of
Well,
like
You
the
know,
building a house
yeah,
is
yeah.
better.
well,
Building a house.
okay, yeah, building a house is better. Yeah,
Yeah.
building a house. I was thinking like the first step to, but yeah, but building a house is better. Like even if you build a house, like it's still the same. Like, but I was thinking though, but it don't work as well with the building house idea. Now that I think about it, because if you doing it by yourself, you might just build a smaller house. You know what I mean? You might not build the same size of it, and maybe that's a good analogy in and of itself to how big your business can get,
That's true.
like with you doing it on your own
You won't get it.
versus you having help and having support. So because when you have help and support, you can focus on building a bigger house versus when you're just trying to do everything by yourself, you kind of are a little bit more limited.
Yeah.
And so you might decide to be like, this is good enough. I'm just gonna do it like this. I just, So
What is the it's like it's in the African fable. You can go alone and go fast. You go together and
I
what
know what you're
is it?
talking about, but I don't know exactly what it is. You're gonna have to.
I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think good topics for us to keep in mind. I definitely would love to bring an agent in, and I would love to talk about this relationship with agent versus photographer more, and how do you get into the door with that, and then also talk about treatments. How do you set yourself up for treatments, and when do you?
You don't do treatments, and it's
Eric
hey,
don't
hold
do
on, hold on.
treatments.
But no, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Boom, and
Yeah.
that's it.
And then treatments, we that's
All right.
so
So,
1999.
oh man,
I do
I wish
treatment. I have to do
things to
treatments.
go away.
I do treatments all the time. I think in October, November together, I might have did 10 treatments between
Mm.
those 2 months.
Oh
Did you
I was
wow.
do a
doing it.
treatment for your upcoming job?
No.
Did you
So
leave?
I just got a job this that I'm leaving for Friday to go to London, and then I'm going from London to Milan, and then back home, and then a couple days after that in LA to finish it. And I didn't do a
You didn't
treatment.
do a treatment.
No.
Picture that. Picture a
But
world with no treatments.
Picture
My
that
I
with
first
know
job that I'm doing this year, guess what? No treatment.
I love that world. I would
no
love
treatment.
that. So clients, if you listening, don't make us do treatments.
Yeah, clearly we don't like them. All right, well then I think this is a good stopping point. Um, Dev, any outtakes for us? All right, so you want me to stop it? Did you stop it on the? Okay, cool. Hey, well, to the two people that's out there watching, thank you.
Yeah, we
See more
appreciate it.
later. We're good. Thank you for joining in.